it and, redoing everything. We found out from the Business Finance Authority that the $28 million is really only going towards $73 million. So what's happening is they are splitting up the resort part where they'll update the resort, etc., and the timeshare part. So the only part that the taxpayers will be, and quote unquote, invested in is the resort part. And I think part of it might, and I don't know if this is true, but part of it might have to do with the, taxes can now be assessed in this area. So if they build this, then they could look to the shareholders in the timeshares if this was to fail. So I think Les Otten is splitting these up intentionally so that if it does fail, then we can't go to the timeshare holders to try to get our money back.
I just want to apologize quickly to our stream listeners on speaker. We had a major crap out, and I lost the stream for a bit, but it is back up. So, this is nuts, Kimberly, and thank you for doing all this research, by the way, because I know that people are interested in the fine details, and, we want to make sure we have them.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is, I got to kill this thing.
Well, listen, let me tell you something. They asked, I give the committee credit, they were asking really good questions. So to me, I was like, oh, wow. I just figured it was going to get shoved through like the casino bill. I just figured it was going to get shoved through. But when they started asking all these really good questions, I was kind of surprised. But then when I got up there and I started telling about the bad things about balsams, and they kind of tried to shut me up, then I knew, it's not necessarily a good thing.
So they want to know how much trouble they're in, but they're still willing to step in and help anyway.
Well, yeah, they don't seem to care, and it was funny because they were talking about the value during the hearing. They talked about the value of the land and everything, and said, well, there's over 8,000 acres, and he brought up the timber survey and how much that was worth, which I brought up. No one's brought up before, and it's funny. He didn't bring up the 5,000 of acres that were purchased by a conservation organization for $850,000 a few years ago. That land, if it's still owned by that conservation organization, cannot be counted in the value of the balsam.
It is. They never give it back.
What do you mean?
The conservation organizations, once they acquire land, they never give it back.
Exactly. And so that's 5,000 acres. That's $3.5 to $5 million worth of timber that they can't count in the valuation of the balsams, but they were, including Otten. So that was another thing I brought up, and it was funny because I heard someone on the committee, someone on the right that was sitting in the committee said, "That's right." So let's hope that the committee was a little bit informed, but. Because no one else had brought that up. After 3 hours of testimony, no one else brought that up. You cannot consider that in the value of the balsams, and the balsam certainly isn't worth $28 million right now.
No, and that's exactly how these conservation groups work. They come up with a voluntary agreement to take certain areas off the table for future development, and they pay you something towards it, but not the full value, and it's supposed to be a partnership, but once you're in, you can't get out.
Yeah, that's it. You're done. So, the other interesting thing was that a committee member asked and if he had a plan B. So basically they said, if SB 30 doesn't pass, what is your plan B? And Otten actually said, plan B is plan A.
Oh, jeez.
So in other words, he pulled a Veruca Salt and said, well, plan B is plan A. I don't have any other plans. If you don't pass this, I'm just not going to build it.
You know something? That's the kind of despicable actions. It's like, I'm going to take my ball and go home. And so why are the Republicans letting themselves be held hostage to this?
Why not just let the place fall into bankruptcy and sell it off and see if anybody will actually invest?
Okay, well, here's the other thing, guys. Otten lied. Well, he might not have known. I shouldn't say that. During the testimony, he said, well, no one else wanted to buy this, and that is a lie. because, and again, I don't know if he might not have known this, but the current owners certainly know this. There was someone else who wanted to buy the Balsams beforehand, and they wanted to spend $10 million and upgrade it and make it continue as a resort. They didn't want to put all these ski slopes in and all these timeshares and this big, conference facility. They wanted to kind of make it back to what it was, only obviously upgraded and nice, so people would want to go up there. But so this whole thing, as I've said before, is all based on shenanigans, backroom deals. Who knows all the backroom deals that have really gone on? But the thing is, they're trying to say that SB 30 isn't actually about the Balsams, but again, it wouldn't have come up if he didn't have his hand out. And why does he have his hand out when he has almost all of the money, over $100 million, to he could actually work on the project, right? He could, and he said during the hearing, he said, well, one of the reasons it's hard to get private investors is because, if you're not open and running, people don't see if it's successful or not. Well, why aren't you upgrading it, renovating the actual resort, running it, and then other investors will come in? I mean, he's using his own logic against him, because what he's saying is he can't start this project until the state backs up $28 million for him, because it's a bond that the state will allow him to get.
And yet he has a history of basically, as they say in the restaurant trade, chew and screw.
For American Ski Corporation or company that he used to own, he left that company $400 million in debt. He resigned as the CEO. Probably he was pushed out because I was just reading a book about him, or part of it, with the Red Sox, because, he talks most about the Red Sox. He really had a really way far back, get in the back of the bus kind of role in the Red Sox because he didn't have the financing. And Jack Henry didn't like him. Excuse me, sorry. I bought that book just so I could look up the information about Otten. I'm not even kidding you. I'll probably never read it, but someone told me about it, so I looked it up. And thank you for tablets, because I can just do a search and find it rather than trying to go through the whole book paper book.
Okay, no kidding. I was just remarking about that the other day, about how you can I love my Nook because I can just search any phrase or word or whatever and find everything. We're going to take a really, really short break. Can really stay on the line, and we'll be back in about a minute.
This is the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is a repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning, the Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested, riveting radio show, heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at GerardAtLarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
I am singing the blues. I got to tell you, the technological difficulties we're having today are enormous. So I've had problems with my recording stream. I have problems with my live stream. I've had problems with my Jazzler single box. We've had problems with Ustream.
Camera.
Chords. So the final version of this program could be interesting. There could be some gaps. We'd like to apologize for that because crap happens. But anyway, speaking of crap happens, we have the Balsams bailout. So, and that's why Kimberly Morin has joined us to continue this discussion.
If you guys can hear me, you'll have to unmute yourself.
I just turned your microphone back on. And I just turned his microphone back on.
Thinking of stuff that happens, did anybody bring up the toxic dump section of the property in the hearings?
You there, Kimberly? Oh, here we go.
Now I can hear you. Are you there?
Yeah. He asked if anybody brought up the toxic dump Rumors. Yes. Okay.
Kevin Bloom did. Yes.
Okay.
Kevin Bloom. He testified like one person before me. And yeah, he did bring it up. And that's something that sort of just kind of disappeared and quietly went away. Because I looked into that, and then all of a sudden the activity on it being in the news ended. And that doesn't mean that the toxic waste dump ended. It just means, our swell investigative reporters that are in the mainstream media didn't bother reporting on it, which, oh my gosh, that's just so not possible.
Well,
right?
there's a standard rule in quality management that if you don't write it down, it doesn't exist. So this applies also to the media and apparently to latex-related toxic waste dumps at the balsams.
Yeah, exactly. Liquid. I forget what I saw when I was doing the research because this project is so bad. That's why I call it the balsams boondoggle, because it's so convoluted. And I even said that during my testimony. I'm like, I hadn't even heard of the SB30. Someone asked me to look into it, from North Country, by the way. And I started looking into it, and I was like, oh, my God, seriously. And it just gets worse and worse. And why they pulled Les Otten into it is beyond me, other than the fact that the guy probably promised them the world and is only going to hand them a freaking outhouse.
Question for you, Kimberly. Certainly Senator Woodburn, who is a state senator from up north. Obviously, the North is really poor economically, and they're just scrambling to find any kinds of jobs. Is he looking at this, and has he been pushing it politically because he sees it as probably the only lifeline that's come their way in any amount of time?
Oh, yeah. He was one of the first one. I think he was the first one who testified at the hearing. Yeah, and that's a lot of what was being said. Oh, the North Country, there's no jobs, there's no this or that. Well, the two current owners of the balsams actually fired 300 people who were working there a few years ago because they wanted to close it down to renovate, except these yahoos never got any investors before they bought it for a low, dirt cheap price of $2.3 million, given that the timber survey ahead of time was worth $3.5 to $5 million alone. Just the timber by itself was alone worth almost $5 million before the two local guys, Hebert and DeGrasse, or whatever his name is, DeGrasse, they bought it. And they didn't have any investors because they didn't have any plans, in my opinion, to actually upgrade it. You don't buy something without getting investors to back you up with millions of dollars to do an upgrade. It seems to me that they wanted to flip it. They figured they'd buy it dirt cheap because that's what they got it for, and then sell it really quick, sell it rather shortly afterwards to some other investor. But it didn't quite work out that way. And these guys are now working with Otten, so it's like the Three Stooges of North Country trying to freaking sorry. I mean, I'm sorry. I listened to Otten, and it was funny. He was sitting behind me when I was giving my testimony. I could hear him making noises because he didn't like what I was saying. The man reeks of arrogance. And what I found out is I don't know if it was Maine or New Hampshire, but they used to have, because he was so bad with just buying all these ski resorts, and rather than focusing on doing what he said and promised them the ski resorts he had bought, he just kept buying them more because he wanted to be the king of snow country. They had bumper stickers that said more snow, less Otten. Because people in Vermont and New Hampshire, in New Hampshire and Maine, didn't like this guy. At first they did because he was doing, all this good stuff, but then he got in over himself. It's like the emperor wears no clothes. You know what I mean?
He could start his own reality TV show, Flip This Boondoggle.
Oh, he could, and people would hate his guts. Just because of he walks into the room and he reeks of arrogance. And that's not a good thing. Because he doesn't care. He was actually asked during the hearing, will you promise to only hire people from New Hampshire or up in that area? And he said no.
Well, that's a good way to make your case with local politicians, isn't it?
Yeah. Basically, and, I kind of get it. His excuse was, well, I don't know if I can only hire local people. What if there's not enough? Blah, 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 blah. But he can't even make that promise. But he wants us to hand over $28 million. And we already know that the two people that own it now tried to get that foreign EB-5 program going, and it failed. So we already know they were going to bring in foreign workers to try to work on the Balsams project as opposed to local residents. And you know what really kills me is this is basically the legislature saying to the taxpayers, we want to take $28 million, hand it over to a wealthy white guy so he can create low-paying jobs for basically servants to serve his wealthy clientele.
Can we start calling this the New Hampshire Solyndra Project?
It's worse than that. It's even worse than that, in my opinion, because you have all these poor people up in Co-op County who are like, yes, we need to do this. And one guy actually got out. I don't know if it was a rep or not. I can't remember. He's like, our young people are leaving. We need this so they'll stay. What young person is going to stay so they can be a servant to rich white people?
Hadn't thought about it that way.
I mean, seriously, most of these jobs are going to be low-paying jobs. It's going to be chambermaids, waitresses, servers.
Most of the construction jobs are going to be brought in. So
that's the huge thing, right? Most of it, because they don't. I mean, I'm sure they just don't even have enough people up there to do the construction jobs. Never mind filling all of them. But yeah, so they're all like, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Really? You want your kids' future to be this? No, the young people are still going to leave. Well, any young person who gets a taste of life outside of North Country is not going back, and not until they're older. And I'm not insulting North Country.
Unless they like the smell of balsam.
Well, the thing is, I'm not insulting North Country because I love it up there. We were married up there. It's beautiful up there. But guess what? I don't live there because there's no freaking job.
There's a lot of empty space.
Yeah, I mean, basically up there, you've got farming, maybe a little mining.
Timber.
I don't know. You've got timber, and you've got people who work from home if the internet's fast enough.
And that's the problem. The internet's not even fast enough.
Tourism. So that's it.
Yeah, tourism. So you either got to figure out how to exploit it, or it's a retirement area.
Right, exactly, and that's the thing is that's what they said. They're like, hospitality is our future. Okay, I can get that because New Hampshire is a huge tourism state. But if you really think that getting young people to stay here is by putting this in, that's wrong. And they're not. I guarantee they probably wouldn't even be able to fill all of the jobs. Supposedly, they want eventually by 2024 or whatever they'd have 1,500 jobs. Well, honestly, who is going to work those jobs? I almost feel sorry for the people who are all hell bent on this because it's like that's your lot in life to do that.
Well, you'd think, nobody's going to commute that far because it's not worth it.
So the only people that will do those jobs are not New Hampshireites because they'll go somewhere else and take their college educations for a real income, which leaves you with more Mexicans.
Right. They'll be shipping in seasonal workers. They'll
French
be like
Canadians.
a lot of hotels do. A lot of places do that. They ship in. My God, years ago, I spent years going up to Hampton Beach when I was a kid. They used to ship in the Irish or Canadians.
The apple orchards bring in Jamaicans. Believe it or not. Oh, yeah. To pick apples. They come up, they pick apples all summer, and then they go home.
Well, I know that there's a local farm that brings in, local up from me, brings in people from Eastern Europe on work visas. Some of them stay longer, obviously.
Yeah.
Most go back, but some stick around, and that's what happens. And not the local kids like it used to be.
No, exactly. When we were kids, we would do those jobs. But kids are going off to college now, and they want more. They don't. It's not the same today as it was 20 or 30 years ago, where you just stay in your town and you work whatever jobs are there. People want more.
Yeah, I bet you that Les Otten is also urging that Congress give President Obama his fast track a trade authority because it just came to light this week. It's another backdoor immigration because basically it's going to open up immigration of workers across borders, just like they did in the EU. So, except we'll be dealing with people from across the Pacific. So no longer will they have to hide in the holds of the storage of the cargo ships. They'll just come on in the next 747 again to compete. We will become a borderless society if Congress, especially the Republicans, give Obama this ability. Yay for the American worker.
Yeah, no, exactly. We don't matter anymore. Don't you know that?
It's rapidly getting to that point.
Yeah, it pretty much is. It's funny. Like I said, I was interrupted, and they said, "Are you going to talk about the bill?" And I found a quote from the New Hampshire Department of Resources and Economic Development, and the quote says, "The passage of SB 30 is vital to saving the Balsams and transforming it into a world-class resort. If it does not pass, there may never be another chance for this landmark, and the opportunities it brings will be relegated to history." So, in other words, if SB 30 doesn't pass, this project isn't going to go forward. What does that say to you about Otten and the current owners now?
Doesn't say anything good.
No, it doesn't. They could already be working on this. They have over $100 million in financing. They could already be working on this. They could already be providing jobs. But they're standing there like petulant children waiting for $28 million from the state, and I still haven't figured out really why.
All right, Kimberly, we got to go. Thank you so much. You have a great weekend.
Bye, guys.
All right, see ya.
Take care.
All right, we'll be right back with Dave Bozell, not Brent. We'll be right back. This is GrokTALK.
New Hampshire is famous for scenic drives, but they're tough to enjoy when you're on your way to the doctor. Because Obamacare limits your choices, some will have to drive more than an hour to see a doctor. What's health insurance worth if care isn't there when you need it? Jean Shaheen voted for Obamacare, putting your doctors and hospitals further out of reach. Tell Senator Shaheen, Obamacare is not working for New Hampshire.
Jean Shaheen and her allies are making false claims about her record on veterans. The truth? Shaheen refused to meet with veterans pushing for reform. She wasn't on the committee that wrote the reform legislation and refused to co-sponsor important VA reforms in the VA Management Accountability Act until after the VA scandal broke. When our veterans needed her, Jean Shaheen was AWOL. Tell Jean Shaheen to stop distorting the truth and fix the VA.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning, the Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested, riveting radio show, heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at GerardAtLarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
This is a coalition of New Hampshire taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is a repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now at the top of our list is voter fraud. If you have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
Talk. 3, 2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of GrokTALK, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GraniteGrok.com. We are your feared extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from GraniteGrok.com.
GrokTALk.
All right, the technical difficulties continue, but we're going to keep pushing through them all. Just about everything that could go wrong has, but we're still here. We're still streaming live, and we're doing the Internet New Radio thing and everything else that goes with it, and we're not going to stop because we've got people to talk to. My name's Steve McDonald. I'm here with Mike Rogers and Skip Murphy. We are happy to have on the show with us David Bozell, the president of For America. Welcome to the program, sir. I'm sorry. There you go. How you doing this morning?
Hello?
Hey, you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
I don't even want to tell you how many. Normally the show goes off pretty seamlessly, but we're having a lot of technical difficulties. But we're glad we got you on the phone. Good morning.
Well, when Bruce Willis said in Die Hard 2, technology peaked with frozen pizza, it's like the best quote of all time. And he was absolutely right.
No kidding. So so TaxFoundation.org said yesterday was Tax Freedom Day.
Was that average for America, or was that for New Hampshire?
New Hampshire's was the 23rd. That was the average for America. States like Connecticut are in the middle of May. But David Bozell is for America. They have a pretty similar mission to us. I mean, if you listen to our intro, we're New Hampshire's leading. We're hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken. Well, For America is very similar. If you go, they have a very conservative message, very strong message, and one of those messages about tax reform. Correct?
Yeah, we've been talking the last couple of weeks since Tax Day, April 15th, about the need for the Republican field to talk about their tax reform, tax cutting proposals early and often. And I think a lot of the consultant crowd, they play it too cute by half. They try to look for this the most opportune inflection point to talk about what their candidate stands for with regards to tax reform and those types of things. I mean, look, everyone knows. We kind of look at it as like when Newt Gingrich talked about 80% issues. The tax code is unwieldy complicated. It's this tangled web of rates and deductions and giveaways, and no one can figure it out. Barack Obama spent over $500 million in 2008 promising tax cuts for 99% of the country, and he talked about it early and often. Every single day, every stop he made. And I'm kind of getting concerned that the field that we're looking at now has not been as vocal as I think that they need to be.
Anybody? I'm typing. Sorry. Go ahead, Skip. I'm trying to tweet, and the technology thing. Anyway, go ahead. God, it's killing me.
Certainly this presidential primary, since we're here in New Hampshire, we're going to be inundated whether we like it or not. The fair tax has come back up to play. We've heard about the flat tax. I just got through doing my taxes, taking 2 days of vacation time just to do that because I'm too cheap to go to a tax preparer. I've got 2 STEM degrees, and I'm looking through some of this stuff going, oy vey.
Right.
Do you think anything might come of and get some real tax simplification? We hear it out of D.C. every so often, and that head has come back up again. Obviously, some of the candidates are talking about it. It has become so vast. Up to 30,000 pages.
Yeah,
it's like, come on.
Right.
But I don't think they mean it. When they say tax simplification, the next phrase you hear is closing loopholes, which is to say any little breaks that we might think we're getting from the tax code will be removed, but don't expect the rates to go down.
Right. I don't think that anything is going to be done legislatively right now in the short term because of 2 guys. John Boehner and Mitch McConnell.
Yep.
Here are 2 gentlemen that are not serious about the positions that they hold. They have no legislative game plan whatsoever to deal with the political and public policy issues of the day. Forget folding to the president at every opportunity. It is just keystone cops. They just have really no idea what they're doing. I equate the Speaker of the House, the Majority Leader, to a head coach of a football team. During the week, Wednesday is game plan installation day. You announce to your players, how you were going to beat your opponent that weekend. With these guys, they just prefer to go to their members and say, "Well, how would you like to express yourself as the president?" That's the gist of it. And
they'd be right at home in a gay community college.
Well, I just have no idea what it is that what their priorities are, other than this. You got to think that these guys believe that they can just run this monstrous government just a tick better than the Democrats, and that the country is just going to barnstorm and go vote for these guys. If there are 2 guys that that could cost the Republicans the election in 2016 is John Boehner and Mitch McConnell, because of they've just created this apathy among conservatives. Nothing will change with these guys at the helm.
And that's one of the things that we are very much unliked by the local GOP here in New Hampshire, even though most of us have been on the actual state committee, because. What a concept. We actually believe in the New Hampshire Constitution. We believe in the principles expressed by the current NHGOP platform. And we hold people accountable to those precepts and principles.
Right.
And yet they hate us.
And more to the point, we hold the state party accountable when they don't lean on their members to uphold those principles.
Right.
And you're absolutely right, because I have heard so often people are not voting anymore, and yet the NHGOP demands that just because we put up a candidate, we must vote for them. Are you seeing that at the national level as well?
Well, the turnout rate in the 2014 midterms was a 72-year low of 36%. Great. The lowest turnout rate since 1940s. And yet the Republicans run around and claim that they have this mandate and they won this incredible landslide. Did they win the races? Yes, they did. But I actually kind of, tip my hat to President Obama when he came out the next day and kind of said, I hear the people who didn't vote. That was very smart of him politically to sort of acknowledge that. And you can see the result is when he's doing his executive actions, which I don't agree with at all, but he's rewarded in the approval ratings because he's doing something.
Even though most of us don't agree with it, he's getting high approval ratings from enough people that do agree with him.
He's earning his salary, for God's sakes. I mean, he's going to work every day, as opposed to the upper echelons of the leadership of the Republican Party. I mean, it's a pretty simple system of government that the Founding Fathers created for us. I don't care which state that you're in. If the president can declare whatever the heck he wants, he can declare that the sky is green and grass is blue. And it's up to the Congress to determine whether or not they're going to appropriate taxpayer resources to make that declaration happen. That's it. I mean, it's as simple as it gets. And if these guys, if Boehner, McConnell, McCarthy, Thune, Cornyn, if these guys are just going to be rubber stamping, I just assume defund their offices. And defund the Senate and defund the House and just replace them with robots that are just going to rubber stamp these things. And at least I know what I'm getting instead of just being stabbed in the back with these promises of fighting executive amnesty, fighting Obamacare, but essentially just lying to everybody.
Not only will they not do it, they actually castigate the people that will try to do it. Once again, we hear people. Britt Hume last month saying people probably wouldn't vote for Ted Cruz because they associate him with shutting down the government. Actually, most of us cheer that, but that's beside the point.
But he didn't shut down the government, did he? Anyone with a brain in their head.
No,
it was Obama that did that, and here he reads.
Exactly, and John McCain once again calling Cruz all kinds of names. The unions attacking Walker, all this. The people that actually try to do something.
I think Ted Cruz has a much better shot than people realize. It's going to be tough because of the things you just mentioned. The press and the Republican establishment are going to go at him, double barrel guns blazing. Okay, but if you look at the map with the delegate count and everything. I think there's going to be, when it comes to Iowa, then you guys in New Hampshire, then South Carolina, probably a different winner in all three, probably in the low 20s, and the field will separate itself to top 3 or 4 guys. But the first Super Tuesday on March 1st is chock full of a lot of good conservative states. Oklahoma, Texas, Tennessee. There's a lot of them out there. Virginia's a little bit of a wild card. But there's a lot of good. He could rack up some delegates, and then you get to the next Super Tuesday when you start getting into the southern swing, and you can do just as well. So he has a much better shot than people realize just if you look at the map. provided, and I would say this to all of them, provided that these guys give people a reason to go out and vote for them. And going along to get along is not a reason. And I think it should start with just a comprehensive tax reform, tax-cutting message of getting government off their backs and reminding people early and often. The world of communications has changed. Look at what we're doing today. We're talking on the radio, we're tweeting, we're faxing probably, we're all over the place. You've got to take advantage of all these different mediums and talk about these things, talk about your message early and often. And I think the person who does that, the candidate who does that, I think will separate themselves.
I want you to, David, take a look, if you get a chance, to the hashtag 603 Alliance or search 603 Alliance on Google. We've created an alliance of grassroots groups in New Hampshire who are going to caucus and agree to vote for a conservative candidate in New Hampshire in February. So take a look at that. I know that For America's focus is using social media and the internet. What else are you guys doing to try to really get this message out there?
Well, we've got an army of over 7 million fans on Facebook. That's where we just believe very strongly in the peer-to-peer endorsement model that only social media provides. And so we're really just relying on the army to spread the message for us. Beyond tax reform, Obamacare, and immigration, trying to keep the heat on the GOP leadership and doing everything that we can to stop Hillary Clinton in her tracks. Increasing her negatives is going to be critical. And we'll let the candidates take the high road and we'll let the army take the low road if necessary.
Well, the media is helping with the Hillary thing.
Well, the question is, who do they really want? Is it Warren? Because they have piled on Hillary in ways that we've not seen before.
Yeah, she's going to have she definitely does. There are pockets of the press that have now made it their modus operandi to go after her. Maybe they just didn't feel like they were treated properly by the Clintons, or they're younger. They're probably younger, really. Mm-hmm. They don't have any obligation to the Clintons at all. And I think it just goes, and it goes kind of where the country is. Human nature being what it is, you start to align yourself with your reporting aligns with your personal beliefs. And with the Clintons, you don't know where they stand on anything. I mean, they just flick their finger and put it to the wind. And so I think people just don't have any patience for that stuff anymore. And then with the stuff with the foundation and taking foreign contributions, the uranium stuff, it is just, where is there anyone in government working for the people anymore?
I would agree. No, nobody.
Right.
It's not about getting the money out of politics. It's about getting the power out of Washington. Because taking the money out of politics is always shorthand for defunding challenges.
Right. Exactly. You're absolutely right.
All right. Well, we're at the end of the segment. You are at foramerica.org, correct?
Yes, sir. And at David Bozell is my Twitter handle, and Facebook.com/foramerica.
All right. Thanks. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. All righty.
Enjoyed it. Anytime.
All righty. Bye-bye. All right. David Bozell, For America. We are going to take a quick break, assuming everything works, which there's no promise today, but we'll be right back.
This is the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is the repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning, the Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested riveting radio show, heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at GerardAtLarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
All right. We're a little busted up this week. Stuff's just not working right. Thanks again to David Bozell for talking to us about some very important issues, mostly about taxes. Ed Nail was here with some vote fraud. We had Kimberly Morin on about the Balsams. And, of course, we had Jane Cormier with a life update and Max Abramson. Hopefully we'll have all those segments up at some point in some form. It's kind of a wreck. I've got multiple audio recordings of the same show, 2 separate live stream feeds that I had to deal with to get the audio portion up. We have some choppy video. We had some issues really early on, but we're in the closing. We're in the last quarter. This is the end of the show. It's time to clean up, ladies and gentlemen, and we have to do the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. And I have to turn your microphone on.
We got lots of candidates
I could
morning.
do, what the heck? I've done everything else.
Well, Skip actually has the WTF for the week,
He
so
does.
Let's go with that. But
we had quite a few choices.
I got a good candidate right here.
We did. We had all the Clinton stuff, definitely. We had Mick Ayotte and the vote for Lynch. Maybe she just likes the name. I don't know. And then we had some chimpanzees. We had Bill Shaheen.
Bill. Yeah. I mean, this week it was just a cornucopia. It was just overloaded. The chimps. Yes. Do you now know that 2 research chimpanzees now have legal standing in a legal court? So, once again, I've been complaining that being an American citizen seems
I don't have any chimp sound effects.
Oh, he does that well.
He does. Monkey business,
yeah.
Well, but not Gary Hart style.
Yeah. So, what's coming? There is an animal rights group that has been trying for decades to try to get legal rights for all kinds of animals that, they're just humans in other forms.
Didn't the Swiss give natural rights
Flowers,
to plants?
To plants, yeah.
That's next.
That goes way back. I think I even blogged.
It doesn't stop at chimpanzees.
No, it doesn't. So here you've got obviously intelligent animals. I love my Grok dogs. They're very intelligent as well. But I would never want to give them legal rights in a court of law. But a judge has now decided to let a court case continue to obtain those rights. And I'm thinking, with everything else in this country, why should I going wrong? Inside is out, out is in, good is bad, bad is good, left and right just don't understand
What is
each
it
other.
like doing Discovery on Bobo the Chimp? Anyway, I want to know.
Well, basically what they're trying to do is
poo-flinging monkeys.
They're trying to the end game is to no longer use animals in research projects like this. And these chimps have been in captivity for quite some time, and they are trying to get the legal standing so that they can make it easier to go to a rest home for the aged chimpanzees.
Chimps.
Yeah.
Well,
and to stop that whole thing dead.
Let's consider a fetus to have the same legal rights then.
Well, not
to be tortured.
No, because chimp fetuses won't have those rights.
Yeah, but it ties into the.
Remember, right? A female chimp's reproductive rights. We'll be dealing with that pretty soon.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Trust me.
Yeah, I mean everything is devolving to that. When everybody is special, nobody is special, from the movie Incredibles. And I see that, the flattening of everything to anything, so that there is no differentiation between you, me, or the Eye of Sauron here. Plastic's got to have feelings way back when. It used to be alive because it was oil before it was turned into plastic.
And before it was oil, it was plant life or animal life.
Yeah. I mean, you see these kinds.
My rights.
You see this continual linkage of everything to everything to everything to everything because of modern deconstructionist theory that everything is the same. We're just a cog in the machine, which suits progressives just right because it is what it is. But you're right. The what TF type of deal is, are we going to deal with chimps on a higher plane than we can with an unborn baby, is one way of looking at it. And it's just emblematic of the derailing of social smarts.
Right. And since we're talking about babies and the like, care of the Clinton campaign, they launched a new bumper sticker along with the tagline, "Where will you stick yours?"
Not anywhere on the Scooby van because you can't get within 100 yards of the thing.
Well,
you can't read it when it's going 92 miles an hour.
Not only that, but whoever wrote that had obviously never met Bill.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Did you see the cigar thing?
Oh yeah, that's
Send cigars to Hillary. That was
and
awesome.
I'm keeping it at that.
Yes. Where would you stick yours?
yeah, and there was a whole pile of cigars stacked up there.
Yeah, and that was in the picture, but apparently they've already sent tens of thousands. You can go to granitegrok.com, see the post. It's a Facebook thing that you can go to the link, and you can go, and the money that you spend on the cigars goes to the Wounded Warrior Project, and everything after the cost to cover whatever it is, the cigars and the shipping, to ship them to Hillary's campaign headquarters. One address. They all go to the same place, and the campaign is really, really unhappy with this because they just keep getting boxes of cigars.
Yeah.
Well, where did that originate again?
Wounded Warrior Project. I've had a link on the front page of Granite Grok.
Okay, yeah.
And somebody set it up. Some nonprofit or some PAC or something set up a web page and said, I guess what we're going to do. And said, well, what are we going to do with the money? Well, we'll donate the profit to the Wounded Warrior Project, and then you can order one, you can order dozens, and they just ship them all to her campaign headquarters. So she's getting boxes and boxes of cigars every day.
As used by Monica?
Not used. But as used. So, yes, that's the whole point. If you want to elect, Monica Lewinsky's boyfriend's wife, or just nominate her, if you're a Democrat, then make sure you have a cigar.
Yeah, you did bring up one serious WTF, and that was Kelly Ayotte's. And I haven't done the post yet. I
had people emailing me. How come you guys aren't talking about the Ayotte vote?
Yeah,
just didn't get to it.
Yeah, that's basically it. With all the video processing from last week's event of the 603 Alliance. But, here's Loretta Lynch, who admitted under testimony that she's in full support of all of Clinton's executive...
Clinton's?
Obama's executive actions as far as illegal immigration is concerned, and is full bore behind them, and his expansive use of going around Congress, and she's full behind this, and yet Ayotte goes ahead and votes for her to confirm her as the head law enforcement person in the country. When somebody says that they're willing to subvert the actual rule of law, don't you think you would have voted on principle and said, this is not a good thing? She complained about how Obama is going off the rails and being, shutting down Congress's role in the Constitution, and then she votes for somebody to help him support in that. Come on!
It's actually much worse. While some of us will be glad to see the back of Eric Holder, at least you know the devil you've got right now. And the problem here is, unless I'm totally misremembering things, when Holder was confirmed, he actually lied under oath. In other words, he tried to paint the picture of himself as a moderate, reasonable, even-handed would-be attorney general. He didn't say, and I'm going to subvert all of your rights and ship guns to Mexico. It was happening, but he didn't stand up there and say, hey, I actually am going to do bad stuff. This woman stood up there and said, I'm going to support the illegal actions of the current president, and she got confirmed anyway. I mean, Holder actually, as far as I remember, stood up there and tried to sound a reasonable, even-handed guy.
Yeah. All Democrats voted for her, and 10 Republicans, including pretty much all the GOP leadership.
And I hear that McConnell actually whipped the vote rather than have a confrontation with Obama.
Not surprising. Well, like David Bozell just said, Mitch McConnell is one of the two worst people, one of our two worst enemies. The other one is Boehner.
Yeah, there is I haven't posted it yet, like everything else. There's another Pew Research study that shows that Obama's getting 85% of what he wants out of Congress, even though it's like what we talked about with David Bozell. They campaign on certain things. We gave them an overwhelming mandate in the Senate and the House to do the things we wanted them to do, and they're still doing what Obama says or wants, or the Democrats want, at a rate of 85%. Now, who are these people working for? Are they working for the Democrats or are they working for us?
Well, I mean, we have a very similar situation right here in New Hampshire with the Jaspercrats. And, they orchestrated a coup. They got the help of the Democrats to do it, and then they proceeded to advance chunks of their agenda.
Yeah. I mean, you look at that and you go, and then they wonder why Republicans aren't coming out to vote?
Well, I've got two reasons for that. And first of all, my memory was correct. Could you swing the eye around here, folks? And this is from the Hill 2 days ago, confirming what I just said, that McConnell helped to whip the vote to get those 10 Republicans on board. In other words, the Democrats are still running the chamber. There's a small semblance of difference. You don't have all the talk of the nuclear option. You actually get some legislation passed, which virtually nothing passed under Harry Reid. But the bottom line is the chamber still does what Obama and Harry Reid want it to do. What kind of takeover by Republicans is that?
No, and then you wonder, and I'm going to keep hammering this, is that no dime's worth of difference between the two parties. If they're going to act the same, maybe it is time for a third party. As much as I hate saying it, but I'm getting exasperated after almost 10 years of being politically active and trying to work for good conservative, good Republican principles, and seeing the GOP just throwing and littering their principles. It's all about nothing but the win anymore. That's it.
Right, and then there was the note that J.R. Hole sent us last night, and I went and reactivated my Forbes. Hang on, we got it right here.
Oops.
This is by Rick Unger, I think it's Rick, on Forbes.com under their opinion pieces. A dramatic and little-known rules change by the GOP takes control away from the grassroots and hands it to the party elite. They tried to make the world safe for Romney to be elected and to be re-elected, but they pissed off the libertarians so badly that Romney wasn't elected, and now the rules necessary to get not just a plurality of 5 states as it was, but now a majority of 8 states in order to get your name on the ballot at the convention are such that you now have an interesting game of candidate chess, or even what's that world domination game? Risk being played. If you can stay in the race long enough, you can deny the would-be nominee enough majority states to get his name on the nomination.
All right, we're out of time. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you, Mike. I got to cut you off. We're done. Bye.
Yeah, baby. When asked whether she still supports Obamacare, Senator Jeanne Shaheen said,
"Yes, I do continue to support the law. We're beginning to see some positive results."
How can Senator Shaheen say we're seeing positive results when 22,000 of our neighbors have already lost their health insurance? What's worse, the Boston Globe reports the state's only health insurance provider radically reduced the number of hospitals in their network, forcing some people to drive over an hour for lab work, even when there's a hospital within a few miles of their home. When pressed about lack of access, Shaheen said,
"There are some hospitals that are not covered, unfortunately, and I certainly hope that's going to change."
Jeanne Shaheen promised us we could keep our doctors and our healthcare coverage. Now she hopes we can get to a local hospital? Call Senator Shaheen at 603-647-7500. Tell her we need more than hope. We need leadership. Paid for by Citizens for a Strong New Hampshire.
Senator Jeanne Shaheen said, if you like your current health plan, you can keep it. That's not true, Senator. 22,000 New Hampshire citizens have been kicked off their insurance plans. Hospitals in Rochester, Concord, and Portsmouth, they aren't allowed to provide care under the exchange. Senator, you were wrong in your comments. You should apologize for your misleading remarks. I'm calling Senator Shaheen at 750-3004 and telling her I want my doctor back. You should too.
Paid for by SaberPac.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
All of the music on this program comes to us through Creative Commons licensing from Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the speakers, not necessarily those of CNHT, GraniteRock.com, or anyone else for that matter.
GrokTALK.